Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Happy Friday. It's December 14th, so I'm hoping you're having a good start to your weekend. As you can see behind me, the truck is starting to have a little bit more of an issue with the fueling system again. So I did a video not that long ago about cutting down your lift pump supply pressure. That did seem to help it for sure. It's definitely not a bad option. You should definitely think about it if you have an LB7 and that kind of thing. However, that was appears to be more of a band-aid fix for this truck, which is unfortunate. So let's flip the camera around, I'll show you why. So I'm hoping this is going to be the fix. If you do not know, this is a fuel pressure regulator. Now, if you have seen these, you can say, hey, why is yours at a right angle? Why is your connector at a right angle? This is for an LBZ truck. This is for an LBZ or an LMM. This is the part number for that. I have an LBZ CP3 pump in my truck. Therefore, I am running a LBZ FPR. Now, you would not have to. You could technically run an LB7 FPR in there as well, but the LBZ ones can run up to, I think, 26,000 PSI as far as fuel rail pressure, versus the LB7 trucks can only run to about 23. So you can get a little bit more pressure out of that. Now, I was actually suspecting this from the very beginning that this might have been the problem. However, this CP3 and this FPR are only 2 years old. I put them in actually about exactly 2 years ago, around Christmas time. 2 years ago, basically the LB7 pump, the OEM pump that came in the truck was starting to go bad. It was leaking, and it was just time to replace it. And I was able to get my hands on a new LBZ pump for a good price. So I said, why not? It has the ability to go a little bit higher anyway. It'll be better than having an LB7 pump in there. So I went ahead and did that. So because of that, I was like, there's no way that this FPR is bad already. But from looking at the desired fuel rail pressure versus the actual fuel rail pressure, my actual fuel rail pressure is still bouncing around a lot more than I'd like. I'll actually put a clip into it right now. So obviously, if you look in the bottom right of that screen, you can see that my actual fuel pressure is just going all over the place. That should not be moving more than maybe 0.1, maybe 0.2 kpsi, right? Basically, you can actually, if you're listening closely, you can hear that truck. You can hear it. It's actually kind of wop wop. It's just loping real hard, especially when the truck is cold. It does a lot better once it's warmed up. But that is unacceptable. It makes it a real pain to drive. So let's dig into this. We're going to pull this one out. We'll swap the new one in. I'm going to pull it out and get it warmed up a little bit and see if we can make sure the issue has gone away. One note to add here, guys. This is 100% the most important and most useful tool that I own in my garage and or at our farm shop. I actually was lucky enough to get this as a wedding gift a couple years ago, obviously when I got married to my beautiful wife, and it has been just an amazing thing. You know, if you get up there and try to kneel on your crossbar or whatever, it's just terrible. It makes it 100% more enjoyable to work on your truck. So if you don't have one, get one for Christmas if you can. All right, guys, so here we go. If you don't know where this is at, it is based on the back of your CP3. So if you look down in here, if I can get my flashlight to go right, there we go. You can actually see that plug right down there. See that right angle connector coming out? That's where we're going. We're going right below the coolant crossover pipe. The CP3 is tucked in underneath there. So it shouldn't actually be that bad of a job. All we really need to do is pull off the intake and the horn off of the turbo, kind of move that wiring harness around a little bit, and it shouldn't be too bad, but we'll do it step by step. Alright guys, so once you got your intake off, the next big thing is take off the intake horn. There are 3 10mm bolts that go around the flange there. There's one here on the left side. So get this hose out of the way. There's one there right on the top right, and there's one just down. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to it or not. If I can't,
There, you can kind of see it right down there. There's those three. The key to getting these things out, guys, is a swivel head with quarter drive stuff for the 10mm socket. It's really not too bad. On this, I think this is a DRP piece. They are slotted on the two ones on the right. So all you have to do is loosen those ones. You just pull out this single one over here. So it's really not too bad. So we'll pop that off, and then this should be fairly open in here to be able to take a look around. Alright guys, so the turbo inlet horn there is out. You can see the turbo's kind of dirty down there because it's really hard to get in there to clean, obviously, when everything's in place. But that's just a stock turbine wheel there, or sorry, compressor wheel. I think it's an 11 blade cast wheel. Everything's stock there, so not much more to say about that. But we are here, right? So that's where our FPR is at. This harness line is kind of in the way. It's actually almost more of a pain to get it out of the way. I think I'm going to try to do this without it. But I'm going to go over to the bench and show you where the 3 bolt holes are on the FPR. Basically, I'm going to be able to reach in from this back side and get it underneath it. At least that's what I'm going to try first before I go ahead and take anything else out. But hopefully this should be enough for me to get to it.
Okay, so this is how it sits in the truck. If you're coming from the front of the motor, it's sticking at a slight angle like this. So you've got one just up here on the top side, one not quite directly underneath it, and one right to the other side of it there. Those are all 3 Torx heads, so be very, very careful when you're trying to get that out that you do not strip them. If you feel like it's going to start stripping, do not keep going, because if you strip those out, you're going to end up having to pull the entire CP3 out. And having done a CP3, let me tell you that you do not want to do that if you don't have to. So be very, very careful with that. We're going to go ahead and give it a shot. All right, guys, it is finally out. These are, if I get to focus in on a little bit, these are T25s. It's not, like I say, it's not a terrible job to actually pull this out, but it is kind of a pain just because it's just so hard to get down inside there, and be able to swing a ratchet. So this is what I use. Like I say, it's a T25. Use a 2-inch quarter drive extension, and then a decent tooth ratchet. So these are 120s, so it only takes 3 degrees to get a click out of them. Trust me, you want something decent. I would say there's just very little room in there, and once these things pop loose, they spin really, really easily. So it's really easy for the ratchet to just sit there and move back and forth and move the screw with it. So you have to actually get your fingers in there to be able to hold that. So unless you have a power ratchet of some sort that's small enough to get in there, this is what I would recommend. So this is out. It actually looked like it might have been just slightly leaking, so I'm wondering if that's part of the problem. It definitely would make sense. So we're gonna go ahead and start the install process. Eric Merchant out of Merchant Automotive actually did a video on this about just making sure that when you put this in, you put it in there very gently and don't just start twisting it around. You can damage this O-ring really, really quickly and break that seal. And I wonder if that might have been part of it. So this came on the CP3 when I got it. And I'm wondering if that might have been part of the issue. So be very, very gentle with it. So obviously this little cap on it, we'll pop that off, and we'll go ahead and just pop that back in there and start putting these screws back in. But when I'm doing that, be very gentle when I put it back in.
Now when I say I think it was leaking, you can see that's where the hole it goes into. You can see it's wet there right underneath it, and actually if you look down in the valley of the motor, you can't really see it, but it's kind of shiny down in there. There's just a real light film green down inside there, and I'm wondering, is obviously the whole, if I can get to focus, there we go. The whole top of the CP3 is a little bit dirty there. Man, it just won't focus. There we go. Yeah, sort of. Anyway, the whole top of the CP3 is kind of dirty there, and you can see that it kind of seems to be stemming right there. So I'm going to clean that up just a little bit, make sure I don't get anything inside that hole. That would be terrible. And we're going to go ahead and reseal here and put it back together. All right, guys, the new one is in. Say it actually went back in a lot easier than it came out. Just be very careful when you're putting those screws back in that you do not drop them down into the valley. Without a magnet, they would be very hard to get back out without having to dig a bunch more stuff out. But other than that, it's not that bad of a job. So at this point, I need to replug it in, and I actually took off one fuel line that connects right here at this top at the close fitting there to me, because it actually blocks the plug there for me able to get it in and out. You can actually see the line here is right beside me. So you need to put that back in. But other than that, we're pretty much done. Just need to put everything back on top of the motor, and then we will fire it up and take it out and see what we can do, see if it's fixed the problem or not. Actually, while we're here, guys, I talked before about the fact that I have just a 1/2-inch fuel line going directly to this CP3 inlet. That is that one right there, right next to the FPR. So you see that line, it's actually this guy right here that goes through, goes on the back of the motor, and then goes back. Let's see if we can find it back there. Actually, that's the pressure port there for it, basically so that I can read my lift pump pressure. But that's what I've got there. Basically, it just allows as much flow as absolutely possible directly into the CP3.
Hey guys, so I just started the truck up this morning, took it outside here, put it in drive. I'm sitting at the end of my driveway, and you can see here we are holding rock solid, which is awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and drive it a couple days here and kind of make sure that everything is in good shape, but at this point it looks like we're in good shape. So this concludes the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep tuned. We still got some up pipes and manifolds to put in, got a water pump coming soon, but little stuff like that. So thanks, guys. Have a good one.